Hello, I'm Kenneth Moten. Thanks for streaming with us. The crisis in Ukraine is escalating as the White House says a Russian invasion could be imminent. The Russian Navy in a show of force conducting war games in the Baltic Sea. Russia's foreign minister says they don't want war, but Russia will take retaliatory measures unless a security agreement is reached. French President Emmanuel Macron speaking with Vladimir Putin today to try to find a diplomatic solution as Ukrainian officials urge people not to panic. But dusting off old Cold War era bomb shelters in case they are needed once again. The U.S. is turning a corner in many states. Cases are down nearly 25% from 2 weeks ago. In this COVID-19 pandemic, hospitalizations are down nearly 8% over the past week. Despite this positive news, cases in the U.S. are still extremely high. More than 17 million new cases have been reported since the beginning of January. That's nearly 3 times the number of COVID cases reported in every other month of the pandemic. Law enforcement officers from across the country are gathered at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City to pay their respects to NYPD officer Jason Rivera, who was shot and killed over the weekend while responding to a domestic violence call. Rivera's death is part of a streak of shootings targeting police officers around this country. Overnight in Milwaukee, another officer was shot, the third in that city in the past 2 weeks. President Biden is set to visit New York City next week to discuss gun violence strategy with Mayor Eric Adams. But we do begin with that winter storm. Millions of Americans are on alert for that powerful nor'easter, expected to bring heavy snow, damaging winds, and coastal flooding. 17 states from the Carolinas to Maine are bracing for the big winter blast. Our Ginger Z is keeping track on this latest storm. Hi, Ginger.
Kenneth, this morning we're getting a little appetizer and a amuse-bouche for our storm, but this is from ahead of the Arctic front. It's actually not the nor'easter yet. The bulk of that comes in tonight through tomorrow. So it is a wintry weekend, and it will be almost impossible to get around in some places, and that's why this goes beyond, okay, a winter storm, right? No, we're talking about a blizzard warning, and there is a qualification for a blizzard, and it has to do with wind, not amounts of snow. So anytime you've got gusts of 35 plus happening for hours at a time and visibility is going to be reduced, you've got it, and you do, from the Delmarva Peninsula, that little point of Virginia, through Ocean City, the Jersey Shores, Seaside, Belmar, up to Plymouth, Boston, and yes, Rockland, Maine, all in the blizzard warning. Now, don't take it lightly if you're not in that blizzard warning. There are parts of Long Island will have a foot or more. You're going to end up having really gusty winds, even in New York City. And so you can see the timing here. It's really about the late night Friday into the early Saturday morning hours, and it's going to be all about the banding. Some of these bands could end up having 2 to 4 inches per hour. That type of snowfall rate, you are going to add up to feet, certainly in coastal New England, and that's where we anticipate some of the biggest impacts. Eastern Long Island, again the Jersey Shore, and that doesn't just become wind and snow, it's coastal flooding. And the marrying of all of these things coming together, the high tide at just the absolute worst time in many places. Some of the waves out in the ocean could be 25, 30 feet, closer to shore, 15 to 20. We will see damage at coastlines. We will absolutely see the possibility of some of these power lines coming down, and the blowing and drifting, because some of the snow is going to be light in nature. That's going to be a problem too. So if you had plans to travel anywhere along the coast on Saturday, I would consider rearranging, Kenneth.
All right, good information there from Ginger Z. Thank you. Meanwhile, the search for President Biden's upcoming nominee to the Supreme Court is underway. The president is promising to fill the seat of Justice Stephen Breyer with a black woman by the end of February. Then it's on to the Senate for a confirmation battle. Senior White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the latest.
President Biden is looking to make history with his first Supreme Court pick and fulfill a key campaign promise.
I've made no decision except one. The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court.
Biden saying he will announce his pick by the end of February. He's promising to look at a broad array of candidates. And even though his nominee could be confirmed with just Democratic support, Biden is vowing to seek input from across the aisle.
I'm going to invite senators from both parties to offer their ideas and points of view. I'll also consult with leading scholars and lawyers. And I'm fortunate to have advising me in this selection process Vice President Kamala Harris,
The Senate's top Republican, Mitch McConnell, says he'll give Biden's pick a fair look, but adding that the president must not outsource this important decision to the radical left. The White House firing back.
If anyone is saying they plan to characterize whoever he nominates after thorough consideration with both parties as radical before they know literally anything about who she is, they just obliterated their own credibility.
Retiring Justice Stephen Breyer always made clear the court is not a place for politics. He is now finishing out the term and won't be leaving the court until later this summer. Kenneth.
Mary Bruce in Washington, there at the White House, thank you. Let's get to that breaking news out of Pittsburgh, where a bridge collapsed this morning as vehicles were driving over it. Pittsburgh's fire chief says there were no fatalities, thankfully, but 10 people have minor injuries and 3 people were taken to a hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. Pittsburgh Public Safety reports that an urban search and rescue team has been deployed to check for any victims who may have been under the bridge. Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman joins us now on the phone. Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much. I'm so sorry that your state and the city of Pittsburgh are dealing with this incident right now. Can you tell us the latest on those injuries and the response so far?
Yeah, I'm still on the scene, and now they are backing in a response command center, and they are analyzing on which side they're going to bring the massive crane in to see how they can lift the bus and some of the other things out. So they're exploring the logistics and the engineering that's involved with that undertaking right now. That's happening right now on the scene.
Just an incredible scene there. And a little bit more on the injuries. Do you know how? I know that we said there were minor injuries.
Yeah, it's minor. I was talking to the first paramedic crew on the scene, and remarkably enough, someone who was in the car, he claimed that one of the individuals got out of their vehicle and actually climbed up the hill and greeted them when they came down to rescue him. So it's from what I've heard from the paramedics, we got very fortunate that there doesn't appear to be any kind of life-threatening or catastrophic injuries among those here. Because the bridge plunged a good 50, 60 feet, so we're very fortunate in that sense.
Very fortunate. Just incredible scenes there and live images we're seeing there now in Pittsburgh. You released a statement this morning saying you drove over that bridge, thousands of times. It connects the East End to downtown Pittsburgh.
Correct. Yeah. In fact, I was just on it last night. I went over to my son's best friends. We just drove over it last night. So it's something that thousands of Pittsburghers drive over every day. And I've lost count many times how many times I've driven over it. It's a vital part of the Pittsburgh infrastructure in between neighborhoods here in this East End.
And as you talk about how thankful we are this morning that, obviously no fatalities. I know a search is happening for anyone who may have been potentially under the bridge, but they don't think at this point anyone was under or is under that bridge. But the school systems in that area are under a 2-hour delay. So again, we could have had school buses and heavy traffic on that bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if this was like a warm spring morning and there was no delays and people were driving, taking with the roads, it could have been much worse from a timing perspective. It could have been, if this was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when kids were coming home from school or whatever, it would have just been, there's never a good time to have something like this happen, but given the delays for the school because of the weather and everything, it happened at a time when the least number of people would be crossing it or in the vicinity for sure.
Yeah, just incredible images from our affiliate WTAE there. Yeah. And we know the cause of the collapse, again, is under investigation. There were some nearby evacuations for a gas leak. Do we think that gas leak had anything to do with this collapse?
No, they don't. The line was damaged when the bridge collapsed, and they killed that line and they shut it off. So that's no longer a factor or an issue.
Again, in the statement you released this morning, Lieutenant Governor, you said that you think that this could have been prevented and that our infrastructure is failing our people. Coincidentally, President Biden is expected to speak in Pittsburgh today about the new bipartisan infrastructure law that allocates billions of dollars to fix bridges like this one. What do you want to hear from the president?
Oh, look, President Biden has been a champion and a hero for our infrastructure. You know, this just affirms his commitment to what he's done for the country. I mean, passing the bill. I mean, you know, America has no better champion for our infrastructure than Joe Biden. So everything that he's going to say is consistent with everything that he's done, and he's delivered. I mean, that's the thing. Joe Biden's delivered. So, of course, you know, in my opinion, you can't get a more compelling Exhibit A through Z on how important it is to invest our infrastructure than what you have right here. And it just, again, demonstrates how Joe Biden was ahead of the curve in making sure that we get these dollars passed. And we'll have the resources, I'm sure, to fix it, even though it's going to be a long process to rebuild this bridge. You know, we'll have the resources available because of the infrastructure bill passed under his watch.
Wow, 3,300 bridges in poor condition in Pennsylvania, the second most at any state. Lieutenant Governor, I hope that you guys get the help you need for your infrastructure there, and please keep us updated on the scene there. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, with Joe Biden, we are getting those resources. And so thank you for having me on. And yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.
All right. Be well, Lieutenant Governor. We appreciate it. All right, let's turn to that shootout with police in Houston. A suspect opened fire and wounded 3 officers, then carjacked a Mercedes at gunpoint before taking off and barricading himself in a home for hours. Kaylee Hartung has the latest.
The man who Houston police say shot 3 of their officers during a dramatic pursuit, surrendering to authorities after an hours-long standoff. Police say the suspect took off in this dark gray sports car after officers responded to a disturbance call Thursday. In surveillance video obtained by our ABC station KTRK, the suspect crashes his car and then opens fire. It's a shootout.
There's an officer down. There's an officer down out there.
Until he flees again, stealing another car at gunpoint.
Mercedes! He just carjacked a white Mercedes!
The chase ending at what's believed to be the suspect's home. The man barricading himself inside for hours, firing again on police, eventually surrendering.
The suspect at 7:45 surrendered, walked out of the house with his hands up. He had an apparent gunshot wound to the neck. He's been transported to the hospital.
Police saying the pistol used may have been modified to fire like a machine gun.
And Kenneth, this is that intersection where bullets were flying in the middle of the day. You can see homes on either side of me here. One of them with a home surveillance system. That's how this unthinkable action was captured on camera. Those 3 police officers, they were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and all are said to be in stable condition. Kenneth.
All right, some good news there, Kaylee Hartung. Thank you. Coming up, the search for a U.S. fighter jet that crashed into the South China Sea. The Navy now attempting to recover it and its classified equipment. The latest when we come back. Welcome back. The race is on to recover a downed U.S. Navy fighter jet in the South China Sea. The Navy has dispatched salvage equipment as concerns rise over the Chinese picking apart the plane. Let's bring in former fighter pilot and State Department official, now an ABC News contributor, Colonel Steve Ganyard, for more. Colonel, it's good to see you. What makes this particular jet so valuable?
Hey, Kenneth, because it is the most sophisticated, newest, most capable fighter jet that the United States has ever produced. On top of that, it's extraordinarily expensive and has lots of things that would be of interest to hostile nations such as China.
And also, Steve, we know that when it comes to this jet and what's happening there, the Chinese military considers the South China Sea its territory. It's believed to have shadowed the exercise where the jet went down and might know the location of the crash. They're also known to have submarines that could get to it. What kind of risk does that present?
Yeah, you make a good point, Kenneth, and that is that this is China's backyard. This is an away game for the United States. Any kind of rescue equipment or equipment that would be able to pull this up off the floor of the sea would be coming from Pearl Harbor. So it's at least 2 to 3 best case, weeks out before the U.S. could get down to the bottom of the ocean. But it's very close to China, and China does have unmanned underwater capabilities to do the kinds of things that they would do, either to recover their own debris that might be on the floor, but also for spying, for being able to see what's on the bottom of the floor, to tap into fiber optic lines. And so because China is so close to where the aircraft went down, there is a legitimate concern that they may be a race to get this wreckage. Now, today, we are seeing some photos that apparently the Pentagon has confirmed. ABC has not confirmed yet. Hopefully, we will shortly, that show the airplane just prior to impact or at impact on the carrier deck and then in the water. If those pictures are accurate, that shows an airplane that is almost completely intact. So why is this important? Because if the Chinese wanted to have an airplane, it would be much better to have the whole thing intact than just have piece parts. And everything on that airplane is important to them. The stealth coatings, the way it's made, the sensors on board, the potential missiles that may have gone down. So this would be a very, very valuable find, and it would be disastrous for the U.S. Navy.
Well, see, Steve, we know that the South China Sea is disputed territory. I know we've been dealing with this. The U.S. has been dealing with what's been happening there for years. China building an island in the South China Sea as well. So what does international law say about who can salvage the wreck?
Yeah, right now, the way international law, admiralty law, and law of the sea, all of the laws that would be applicable here seem to say that because it's a sovereign government's property, that sovereign government, as long as it goes after that airplane or whatever it is crashed, that they have the first right to salvage it. It doesn't mean that nobody else can go there. It doesn't mean that nobody else could try to get it first. And in fact, there might be a situation where if somebody else got to it first, they could ask the U.S. to pay for the cost of damages. So worst case would be if the Chinese got to it, pulled it up off the seafloor, stripped it of all the intelligence value, and then asked the U.S. to pay for the salvage. So a lot of not good ideas that could come to pass here. Best case is the U.S. gets there pretty quickly. You can bet that there are U.S. submarines, and the U.S. has unmanned underwater vehicles as well in the area trying to guard this wreckage. But legally, there may be a battle. It just depends on whether the Chinese want to make it public or they keep it under the sea where nobody can see what's going on.
All right, and better believe that the Pentagon and officials there will be asked about this throughout the day and throughout this situation, as well as the White House. All right, our retired Colonel Steve Gaynor, thank you, sir. We appreciate your expertise.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Coming up, the moms banding together to let out one giant primal scream to release their pandemic parenting frustrations. Now moms across the country are joining in. We'll talk to some of them when we come back. Welcome back. It's time for Feel Good Friday. I love that music. This is where we bring you a little good news heading into the weekend. And today is all about the moms letting out that collective primal scream heard around the country. That's right. A group of moms banded together to scream out their frustrations about parenting in the pandemic. So let's bring in some of those moms. Sarah Harmon and Tess O'Brien, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Just to give you a warning, I told our guy in audio, John, that he needs to watch out for the microphones right now, because just in case you decide to let out one of those screams. Now, Sarah, you're the mastermind behind this. The first scream session was actually in March 2021 in Boston, but a year later, you posted a picture on Instagram saying it was time for another. You held that scream earlier this week, so where did this idea come from?
I'm a therapist who works with moms. I'm a mom of 2 young kids myself. So I have been intimately connected to the struggles that women and moms have been feeling throughout this pandemic. And so really it came about out of my own frustrations and out of conversations with my clients. And also I run a company called the School of Mom. Mom stands for Mothering Oneself Mindfully. So I'm always trying to teach moms and women how to take care of themselves. And in the pandemic, we didn't have our normal outlets. We didn't have the regular tools that we have. So we had to get a little creative. And when I started saying, I think the only thing we can really do right now is go out in a field and scream, and people said, let's do it, I didn't need much convincing. I just scheduled it and we went.
But did it help, Sarah? Did it help?
Yes, these women, the feedback I keep getting is, oh, I feel so much lighter. I mean, after last night's scream in West Peabody, I got texts that said, I had no idea. I thought it was kind of silly, but I had no idea how good that felt. I had no idea what it would feel like on the other end, how much I needed that. People said that it was so good to feel spontaneous for a moment, out of control, and people sleep better. I'm still feeling the effects 2 weeks from the one in January.
I love it. Tess, you're one of the moms taking part in this, and what made you want to join in and scream?
I mean, pandemic parenting has been a lot, and everyone is feeling that. You know, it's the constant worry that we're all going through. It's the quarantines. You know, at the drop of a hat, there could be an exposure at school, and your kids are home for 10 days, and you're constantly context switching between changing diapers and getting on an important work call. You're tapping your spouse out to cover the kids. It's a lot, and also trying to find ways to make sure your kids are having something of a normal childhood and experiencing joy. Trying to make sure they get a good belly laugh every day. But it can weigh on someone, especially when we don't have our outlets, you know, to get out with friends, to get out and just let go. You know, you can't go dancing with your friends anymore. So the opportunity to go scream on a field with some other moms who are experiencing the same thing sounded really delightful. And the first time I went last year, I was a little bit nervous, you know, a little nervous energy around what it would be like. But in the good, trusted hands of Sarah, who led the group, it was hilarious. And it was a wonderful release that a lot of people really want to have and really need these days.
You say you can't go out dancing anymore, but who wants to? When you got the kids to worry about, we're asleep by 9:30, right? So, Tess, let me ask you this. What's your advice to other moms there, you know, as we deal with this pandemic?
Yeah, I think the advice is twofold, to really try to find ways, even if it's for a minute, to get yourself that outlet, whatever it is. And, you know, for some folks, there's a real interest now in hosting these screams. I know Sarah has resources on her website for people that are interested in hosting them. I've heard from a ton of people who really say, I want to do that. I need that. And also lean into community. I think that's the other component to these screams that has been so refreshing is, you know, we're all experiencing similar challenges. The pandemic has been hard for everybody. Moms are in a specific cohort, and parents need outlets. And to be able to scream together with that shared experience and shared knowledge of what it's been like is really rejuvenating.
I love it. And Sarah, we know that other groups are planning their own primal scream sessions. You've been getting some really good reactions, but what's the reaction of the kids? Do they know you're doing this, and what do they think?
So I've been borrowing my kids' light up unicorn wands for the screams, and their biggest reaction is, why are you taking my wand again? Make sure you don't lose it. But they watched the coverage on television, and I think it's been really cool because it's opened up this new conversation about an emotion that we don't really talk about, which is anger. And we're talking about it in a healthier way. Her school and her teachers watched the segment, one of the segments, and they had a conversation about anger. They screamed as a class and talked about how it felt in their bodies. And I think this is really the gift that moms are giving themselves is really going to be a gift that we can give our kids. We teach them coping skills and how to stay resilient.
It is Friday. Sarah Harmon and Tess O'Brien. On the count of three, can we just have, I know we're inside, can we just have a little scream, just a quick one? 1, 2, 3. Ah! Love it. Oh my goodness. That does make me feel so good. John and Audio, I'm sorry to blow your ears out there. Thank you so much, Sarah and Tess. I was a little triggered because of moms yelling, took me back to my childhood, but this is a good way. This is a good way. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Dennis.
you.
All right, you can find more feel-good stories at goodmorningamerica.com. I'm Kenneth Moten. The news continues with the latest context and analysis right here on ABC News Live, but I won't be screaming it at you. Stay with us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.